Alright guys, so this is going to be the demo on the mouth drawing. So this will be the second part of our series on the face. So just a couple reminders here. So in Google Classroom, I'm in the Classroom tab. We're in distance learning. All my newer assignments kind of are down at the bottom, so you'll see them as they come in. Um, so hopefully the whole idea is I have this series instructions here that just tells you a little bit about the whole thing. But the idea is we're focusing on the eyes, lips, nose, and ears. And I'm having you recording one video for each one, and then I'm having you guys practice on your own, and then you're going to do a final drawing. So right here, what I'm going to talk about is the final mouth drawing. So I do have an example in here you can look at. Here's a canvas drawing I did, so you can kind of see an example of what like a detailed canvas drawing might look like. Um, and for this, just like all the other ones, so you're going to hear this a lot because I'm probably going to repeat this in all four videos, but for all of these drawings, you just need to do one really nice final drawing for each body part, so you can see each one's a separate assignment. So the eye is an assignment, the mouth is an assignment. I'll add one for the nose and the ears as well. Um, so you can practice as much as you want to on your own, and then when you're ready, do a really nice final drawing. You can draw it with the Canvas program like I'm doing, or you can do it with any art materials at home. So if you just have basic pencil and paper, and then you could do like use your finger or a Q-tip or a paper towel to like blend and do your shading, that could work. Okay. If you have charcoal, if you have paint and you want to do something a little bit more detailed, you can make it as detailed as you want to. But just the bare minimum, I just want it really detailed and I want it shaded, and I want to see that you're actually following the lines and drawing a nice detailed mouth. Um, you can take a picture of your own mouth if you want to. You can look up one online, or you can use this mouth example and just try to draw this. And you can choose to do either open or close. If you do an open mouth, it's going to be a little bit more challenging. So if you feel like you're a little bit more advanced and you want to challenge yourself, go ahead and do an open mouth. If you're kind of a beginner or just want to do the basic, then just do this closed mouth. Okay. So I'm going to go into Canvas and just kind of give you a quick little tutorial on how to draw lips. Um, so I've got my Canvas app open. Once again, I like to start in layers. So the reason why lips can be so difficult, especially when we're looking at the face, and we're going to talk about this with the nose as well, because the nose is another area that's kind of the same way. The reason why lips and noses, when people draw them, sometimes don't look right is if you just draw it with a really hard outline and it looks really cartoony, it never looks right. And so the trick with some of these body parts is you need to define the edges with the value, but not necessarily like a strong hard line. Okay. So in Canvas, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an underlayer in red just so that I get that initial sketch, and it will be outlined, but I'm going to basically be getting rid of it later. So if you were doing this hand drawn, I would just do like a really nice light under sketch. So just very, very light pencil drawing if you're doing it by hand. So I'm going to go red pencil, opacity, sure, size should be pretty low because I'm just doing like a skinny outline here. Okay. All right. So the way I like to start is I like to start with this middle line right here. Okay. And when you're doing lips, you have to look. These curves are very intricate, but the way I like to think about it is this middle part, it's kind of like a long letter M. If you look at it carefully, it looks like a very long letter M. Or if you imagine like a seagull flying off in the distance, that kind of shape. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of pick my starting point here. And then I'm just going to kind of start to sketch. And I'm going to go for this kind of like M shape. But I'm not just drawing a letter M. I'm looking back and forth a lot at the reference and paying attention to the way that those lines are actually curving. So I might start with something kind of like this. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is I like to do the lower and upper lip. The upper lip is always a lot thinner. It's a lot skinnier. The lower lip is usually a lot wider. So pay attention to the spacing. Now how far away it is from that middle line that we just drew, that middle M. So let's say I'm going to do the bottom part here. And I can just sketch this as a full outline. That's fine. Um, and then down here, it sometimes is straight or sometimes has kind of just like a little bit of a bump to it. Okay, and then that's going to kind of go up to this edge here. And then I'm going to do the upper lip, which should be a lot closer. And also kind of mimics that M shape. But it should be a lot closer. Okay, so I've got something like that. So I've kind of got the base. And as you can tell, like, it's drawn okay, but it still looks kind of funny because you've just got those solid outlines and that's what makes it look funny. But we won't worry about that for now because what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a layer on top now. So if you're pencil shading, this would just be really light, and then you just do your shading right over the top. If you feel like any of these lines are a little bit too hard, you could erase or lighten them up with an eraser. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on a new layer. I'm going to go to my black pencil now, and I'm going to start with just some basic undershading first. So what I'm going to do, and so you can mimic this with the pencil, but just whenever in Canvas I'm talking about opacity, like higher opacity means darker, lower opacity is lighter. So if you're translating this to a physical drawing, it just means if I'm doing high opacity or using harder pressure and drawing darker, if I say lower opacity, that means just do lighter pressure with your pencil and draw lighter. Okay, so I'm going to go fairly light opacity, and I'm going to go a little bit larger on the sides because I just want to fill in some large area here, just to get some undershading. So I kind of want to just go under anywhere that I see shadow and just get a nice layer underneath. So I'm going to go right here and I'm just going to go along this edge, and I'm going to just try to mimic this basic um, shadow that's underneath. There's kind of a little bit of a shadow in the middle there. And then I'm going to go out here. So if you do decide to take your own picture or find one online, find one that has value. Okay, if you pick a poor reference that doesn't have value, then it's going to affect your drawing because you're not going to have that reference to go with. Okay, so I'm just going to go like this. I've got that little spot there. So shading is what really will bring um, your drawings to life, and it's what really gives them value and depth, right? So that's why I'm having you shade all of these because that's what makes them look realistic. So obviously it's going to be a lot darker in some of these areas, but I'm just doing just a really nice a light undercoat everywhere. And then I might even go on the outside. You can see there's some shadow here. But if you want to add a little bit more to yours too, you could go a little bit more in depth and maybe add some of the chin into this. You certainly could do that, but you can see it's like if the chin were down here, like I could maybe shade around like this and then it would have like that value. And then this rounded edge right here is what shows that that chin would be sticking out a little bit. Okay, so I'm just gonna quick go and get all this shaded. And I'm going a little bit quicker because I'm just doing this quick demo video. So obviously I could take my time and do this a lot better. And then up here, I could possibly go a little bit lighter, but I'm gonna go with this as just like my lightest. So there's just some base undershadow that I have there, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly darken some areas. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my pencil size fairly large because I'm still going to do some larger areas. I'm just going to increase the opacity a little bit. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to layer over some of the darker areas and try to just add some of that shadow back in and have that extend out a little bit farther. And just get some areas just a little bit darker. Okay, so something like that there. And then on the lips, I'm definitely seeing like, yeah, we need to go like a little bit darker over here for sure. Go up here a little bit. This whole, I think, side here could be just a little bit darker. And we'll go a little darker on this upper lip here. This upper lip's a little bit darker here. Okay. Okay, so I've got a little bit more shading there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with like a really dark thin pencil, and I'm going to add, you can see there's some like really nice little textures here and some really thin lines. So I'm going to try to add that in, and I'm going to get some of this really dark area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go very small pencil size, and I'm going to go like really high opacity. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I can like really define this M here. So this middle part here, it's usually going to be a nice dark line, not because it's a line, but because there's dark shadows that are coming together that creates the illusion of line. So the middle part is the part that when people draw lips, it actually looks okay if it's more of a solid line because that's actually how it appears to us. in real life. But now what happens is these shadow lines kind of come out and it extends out a little bit, and these shadows are going to kind of form the shapes of the lips a little bit. So I'm just going to take these lines out a little bit and kind of bring this shadow out. And I'm going to kind of go more of like a scratchy, expressive style of shading here, just to kind of start to fill that in a little bit. And then out here I can see there's kind of just some light or some little scratchy lines here to kind of darken that up. So I'm going to go a little bit more expressive, and then down here I think still needs to be darker, so I'm really going to just keep overlapping and keep rubbing. So when you're on canvas, if you just keep rubbing and overlapping, it'll just keep layering on top and it will get darker and darker. And then down here we definitely have some very, very dark areas down here. Okay, and then it did this. Oh, no, it's okay. I thought it did the glitch where I had to reset, but it didn't. Just a reminder, I'll just say it instead of demonstrate it. I might have to demonstrate it, but there is a glitch where sometimes it stops drawing. Like you put your pencil down and just nothing happens. So if that happens, just hit refresh, and then it will open your canvas back up and you can just reopen the image and it should be there. The nice thing about this is it like saves it as you draw, which is really, really nice. Now you can see I'm doing like a bunch of like kind of straight curved like texture lines here, because that's kind of what I'm seeing in the sample image. You know, just trying to get some of that detail, some of that value. And I'm actually going to do the same thing on the other side, but I'm going to lighten my opacity a little bit. It's not quite so dark. So on the other side, I'm going to go over here and try to get some of these. And basically what I'm doing with the shading is I'm kind of curving in the round direction that I think the lips go. And that's kind of adding kind of that depth to it. And then here in the middle, I'm going to add a little bit more detail to this value right here. I'm going to go out here and kind of add some more of these lines out here and just try to define that value a little bit. Okay, and then this I could darken up a little bit more. So I'm not going to like finish this or go a ton in detail. This isn't like really done yet, but use my other example to see what a more finished one looks like. I don't want to like spend forever on this, but essentially what I could do is I can make this red layer invisible, and then we can just see like my lips here. And so now instead of having like those strong outlines, um, now I can do more like defining it just through values, you know? So like now this value out here, this edge is going to separate like the lips from, you know, the face over here. And then by making this like really, really dark in here, I can really get that shadow in there. And then that's really going to separate where the lips are from the face, so that I'm not just drawing like weird solid cartoon line, it's just the value creating the separation. So that's kind of the idea that you want to have, is the values create the separation, that they define the shapes, um, things like that. They define edges. Okay, so that's just my quick little starter, but this isn't by any means done or like looks fantastic, but I just want you to see the process. So like I said, the way that I do it, I kind of do that middle line first. Then I do some, so I do my initial drawing where I'll do the middle line, the upper lip, and the bottom lip, kind of just sketch the outlines of those, looking carefully at the lines and where they go. Then I do some undershading with some very, very light pencil shading underneath, and then just keep layering the darker values on top. And then that's really all you need to do. And then you can go back in. So on canvas, the eraser doesn't work great for going back in because it's like super solid, but you can. But like this here, like this could have been maybe all shaded in, but if you're doing a physical one, you could take a real eraser and kind of erase some of those highlights back out if they get a little bit darker. So don't be afraid to work back and forth with like your eraser and your drawing tool. Okay, so that's the basic demo on drawing the lips.